Yo Yuan, welcome everyone. Today we're going to talk about taking refuge, which is the first step and formal initiation of one's Buddhist path. I'll begin by talking about the meaning of the three jewels in our lineage, the Sino Esoteric Buddhism, followed by the meanings of taking refuge and different levels of motivations in taking refuge. So in traditional Buddhism, the three jewels are the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. The Buddha is the teacher, the Dharma, the teaching is the path, and the Sangha, the monastic community, serves as the companion. But in our lineage as a Sino-esoteric Buddhism, the three jewels are the Buddha, the Dharma, and the mind. This difference in the three jewel in the third jewel has to do with the history of Sino-esoteric Buddhism, the Chinese lineage of Vajrayana. Instead of taking refuge in the Sangha, we take refuge in the mind, because when Vajrayana was first transmitted to China, it was during the 6th century, during the Tang Dynasty. That is where the name of this lineage is from, Tang Mi. Tang is from Tang Dynasty. Mi means secretive or esoteric. So when Vajrayana was first transmitted to China, it was well received by the Tang Dynasty imperial court and was mainly practiced by the imperial members, the emperors, the queens, the emperor's concubines, and court members. None of these people are nuns or monks. So in our community as it is today, this is also applicable that most of our community members and the practitioners are lay practitioners who do not take the monastic vow. Therefore, we don't take refuge in the Sangha because Sangha does not represent any temple, any monastery, or any monastic person, but it represents the monastic orders and has its own sets of rules or precepts. The Buddha Dharma is boundless, so there are different paths for each being depending on what each being needs. For a being to take refuge, they don't necessarily need to join the monastery, meaning becoming a monk or nun. And for a being to join a monastery, they have to first take refuge in the three jewels. And by the mind, it points to the inner aspects of taking refuge. While the Buddha and the Dharma serve as the outer refuge, the mind to which we take refuge can be regarded as the inner roots that correspond to the outer refuge. The first inner root to which we take refuge is the Guru, the Vajra Master Jingke Xuanlei, who is the root of blessings. For Vajrayana, it is essential to have a living guru as our mentor on the spiritual path. In this case, our guru is the Buddha because they both represent ultimate reality and manifest through their Dharma body, which is Dharmakaya in Sanskrit, which doesn't rely on physical form. The guru is an inner root because that's the first goal and purpose why we need to take refuge, the reminder and aspiration that we will become one with the Buddha through the practice of guru yoga, which is the practice of being in union with the guru, having the guru in our heart or mind. That's the inner aspect of taking refuge in the first rule and the first root. The Buddha and the guru, by being in union with the Buddha and with the guru, it is to have the mind and body that possess the same qualities and ability as the Buddha and the Guru, so that we are the Buddha and Buddha is us, since there's Buddha nature in each one of us. The second inner root we take refuge in is the manifest body or enjoyment body of enlightened beings. That's why Buddhist temples have these statues of different deities, protectors, bodhisattvas, and Buddhas. These statues represent the Sambhogakaya, or the manifest body of the deities, which is a subtle body of limitless form. Buddhas such as Vaishya Guru, the medicine Buddha, and Amitabha, the Buddha of the Western Pure Land, as well as advanced bodhisattvas such as Avalokitesvara, the Bodhisattva of compassion, and Manjushri, the Bodhisattva of ultimate wisdom, can appear in a manifest body in order to teach bodhisattvas and other beings through visionary experiences. But in order for this to happen, for us to be able to perceive such enlightened beings, the correct connection needs to be established first, and is established by both our own cultivation and by the blessings from the Guru. This kind of connection can be seen as the sign of our spiritual accomplishment. It implies the faith that we will sense or have the vision of certain enlightened beings when we make progress in our own spiritual cultivation. It also points to the belief in karma, the law of cause and effect, as well as in the ultimate non-dual reality. And the realization of true understanding of the non-duality of reality is only experienced or realized through practices that involve the body, spirit, and mind. True realization is attained when we embody the truth. The cognitive approach, such as reading and studying, can only lead us as far as how we understand the physical world, which is a fixed, dualistic, defined reality. This might create or strengthen our attachment to the physical world and make it harder to attain the realization of reality's transience. So, this is the second inner route, the realization of our own spiritual accomplishment through the established spiritual connection with other dimensions, whether it's with other self, our other self, or with other beings. And the third jewels we take refuge in, the mind, is both inner and outer. There's no difference, just as we believe that there's no difference between Buddha and an I, and there's no difference between the physical statues and the deities they represent. The mind that possesses utmost clarity is non dualistic. Taking refuge in mind also implies the path of taking refuge in the island of self, for the path is there for us to walk ourselves. There are several layers of meanings and purpose in taking refuge. From the word itself, taking refuge in Chinese is a compound word of the character gui and character yi. Gui means return or return to. Yi means depend on, rely on. This word implies a degree of trust. So, in the worldly sense, any actions done out of this kind of trust can be seen as taking refuge. For instance, a child would by instinct turn to their mother and trust their mother. It is the power of the child's trust that creates a sense of safety with their mother. Likewise, students would trust teachers, entrepreneurs would trust their plans, politicians trust strategies, greedy beings trust in property and wealth. These are all worldly refuges that provide people strength and power. However, when we are talking about taking refuge in the religious sense, this kind of trust is a firm and serious belief, a faith, which gives us the courage to embark on this path that has no exit or sidetracks. This also makes a lot of economical sense. One of the problems with our lives nowadays is that we have too many alternatives to choose from. There are more options out there than what we actually need. The growing forms of advanced technology that makes so many resources available to us seems to make people more confused and lost. We become less resilient because we are always finding new things to blame our problems on. We stop cultivating sustainable relationship with others because we learn that we can always start over without working on ourselves first. In the process, we form all kinds of mechanisms, yet our problems stay unresolved. We choose a new diet, for example, hoping to fix our eating disorder and never consider that the problem is not with what we eat, but stems from many other things that are from ourselves where it needs reconciliation. We choose a new hobby hoping to feel less bored or empty when the approach comes from the external. It doesn't help us resolve the source of angst and confusion, but merely serves as temporary bandages. In ancient times, there is a story about a being who attained enlightenment by diligently practicing only one mantra. But it's not really about how much resource we have, but about having a focused and grounded mind that doesn't rely on new stimuli which split our attention even further. If we keep seeking stimuli, what we do are merely reactions, and in reacting, there is no true agency. So it's important to cultivate our patience, diligence, and concentration, which are the second, third, and fourth in the sixth paramita. Without these abilities and qualities, it is difficult for us to cultivate the last paramita meditation, which means a meditative mind that is able to realize and embody the wisdom of emptiness, which in turns would guide us toward enlightenment. The Buddhist teaching begin with the Four Noble Truths and make it clear to us the goal is enlightenment, the ultimate freedom. It begins with a clear view of our existence, so that we are not taking refuge with a desperate mind, not feeling helpless and feeling that we can hand all our problems over to somebody or something else. So, taking refuge leads us to the first step on the path to ultimate liberation. It doesn't mean to rely on, to depend on the three jewels out of desperation. It begins with having the right view to awaken from confusion, which is to realize our own openness to seek while feeling this confusion and pain from feeling lost. And in this openness, we are able to see reality more clearly and realize that in seeking stabilities and security, we actually cannot grasp onto anything because everything's existence is impermanent and is changing constantly. This is the objective reality of what is called life. In doing so, we already free ourselves from grasping certain construct about this world and about our own existence. And on top of this openness, we develop and strengthen the sense of acceptance we realize. And then from this acceptance, we are able to peacefully, calmly, and confidently make a decision, a choice, to commit ourselves to freedom. So, anybody who has generated this commitment to attain liberation and enlightenment can take refuge in the three jewels. While there are beings who have taken refuge in the three jewels and regularly offer incense and prostrate to the Buddhas, there are beings who offer incense and prostrate to the Buddha yet haven't taken refuge in the three jewels. Nowadays, both are free to see themselves as Buddhist, but this is a misunderstanding because no one is born a Buddhist and no one can be a self claimed Buddhist. One becomes a Buddhist after taking refuge because this is a conscious choice. We can read and study Buddhist teachings ourselves, but taking refuge is more than a ritual. It is to genuinely acknowledge the fact that without the Buddha, there is no Buddhism. Without Dharma, there is no teaching. And without the Sangha and individual practitioners, there is no effective transmission. And without the mind, there is no accomplishment. The refuge ceremony not only formalizes our determinations and through which we realize our gratitude for the three jewels, but also marks the beginning of our path of living the way of non self. By simply acknowledging these through the refuge ceremony, we instantly dissolve our worldly definition of ourselves, which is formed, arranged by our ego and worldly perceptions. Even though we take refuge in the three jewels, we have these objects we pay respect to. The ritual is really for ourselves, since our awakening is the only thing that the Buddha wants. So, what we hold in ourselves, our intentions, faith, courage, are much more important than the ritual, the form itself. It is not about having a certificate, a piece of proof from a certain institute. It is not about the physical movement of the prostration in front of a certain statue, but more about acknowledging our intention, our commitment. At the same time, taking refuge in the three jewels helps resolve our negative karma from the past. After this initiation, some of us may feel that life is not as smooth as before, or we start to have more bad dreams, or we feel that many of our past life negative karma begin to manifest, and we may feel frustrated and lose trust in the path of the Buddha. Yet, this is because we have more awareness now. We also become more connected with our past and future selves, have more access to the collective memories which are stored in the universe consciousness because we begin this spiritual cultivation. What creates our confusions and frustration is, again, from our own mind. Our scope of view is sometimes so narrow that we focus solely on this current lifetime and solely on the physical dimension. And we are so ignorant that we are not able to recognize or be aware of the narrowness of our scope of view. The manifestation of our negative karmic results is exactly the result of the connection we've made with the Buddha and with the collective enlightened beings. It is a sign that we are being helped, we are being reminded or triggered, if that's what it needs for us. If we have already figured everything out and have zero blockages on our spiritual cultivation paths, then what is the point of cultivation? When there's no challenges, there's no progress to be made either. When we see certain things as negative or positive, we need to have the awareness that this kind of view stems from our dualistic mind and our narrow scope of view. On the other hand, some of us feel that our life have been smoother after we take refuge. It's because of the same reason, which is our expanded awareness and connection with the enlightened beings through our faith and commitment. The, the difference only lies in each individual's perceptions of reality. But this is what makes the path difficult because we have these filtered perceptions. And also because of the reality that happiness is temporary and lifetimes are impermanent. So we need to have the realizations and understand that ultimately refuge is taken until we reach unsurpassable awakening. The point of becoming a refugee to return and depend on the three jewels is to give up our attachment to basic security, to let go of our constructs about the world and about ourselves. That may be realized after countless times of grasping onto something and letting go of it, depending on each individual. We need to have the calm realization with full acceptance that we are homeless, groundless. We might have a sense of home as where we were born or where we purchased our first property, but fundamentally speaking, we don't actually have any homes externally. Our guru said he doesn't have a sense of home or family, but he has a sense of a big family, which is the entire universe. So the commitment to Buddhism does not mean that we have to shut ourselves away from society and become a recluse. It is about how we can lead a more useful life and help others as well as ourselves, and to help others establish themselves on the path to liberation. So all these difficulties are to be overcome by our own commitment, from which we attained indestructible faith and courage. Indestructibility is one major quality of Vajra and the quality of the lineage Vajrayana. As we develop a faith quite beyond the commonplace by its power, the blessings of the teacher and the three jewels will enter us through the connections we make during taking refuge and during our cultivation. Then true realization will arise and we will see the natural state as it really is. When that happens, we will feel an even more extraordinary and irreversible faith and confidence in our teacher and in the three jewels. In this way, faith and the realization of the natural state support each other. There are three different levels of motivation for taking refuge with this faith we're talking about. This is from the words of my perfect teacher. So the first level is the refuge of lesser beings. It's coming from fear of the sufferings of the three lower realms, the hell realm, the preta realm, and the animal realm, motivates us to take refuge simply with the idea of obtaining the happiness of gods and man. The second level of motivation is the refuge of middling beings. The knowledge that wherever we are reborn in any of the realms of samsara, high or low, there is no freedom from suffering, motivates us to take refuge in the three jewels just with the aim of attaining for ourselves the level of nirvana, peaceful and free from all samsara sufferings. And the third level of motivation is from the refuge of great beings. The sight of all beings plunged in the great oceans of samsara's infinite sufferings and undergoing an unimaginable variety of torments motivates us to take refuge with the idea of establishing them all in the unsurpassable and omniscient state of perfect and complete Buddhahood. Of these three levels of motivation, here we should choose the way of great beings, taking refuge out of a desire, out of an aspiration to establish each one of the whole infinity of beings in the state of perfect enlightenment. The happiness of gods and men may seem at first sight to be true happiness. In fact, however, it is not free of suffering. And as soon as the effects of the good actions that lead them to those states of happiness are exhausted, they fall back into the lower realms. So why would we strive to achieve the happiness of higher realms if only lasts for a moment? The Shravakas and Pratyabuddhas, nirvana brings peace and happiness, but happiness is to themselves alone. When all beings, our mothers and fathers since beginningless time, are sinking in samsara's infinite ocean of suffering, that's why our aspirations should be grand, and we take refuge in order to better ourselves first, in order to help other sentient beings. To take refuge in the three jewels with the wish that all beings may attain Buddhahood is therefore the way of great beings and the gateway to infinite merit. That is the way we should adopt. That's how we can practice Guru Yoga, which is being in union with the Guru, with the Buddha. And to see ourselves as the Buddha, we need to have the motivation of great being and aspiration to serve others as the purpose of liberating ourselves first. According to the basic vehicle or Hinayana, one takes refuge in the Buddha as the teacher, in the Dharma as the path, and in the Sangha as companion along the way. The general method of the secret mantra vehicle or Vajrayana is to take refuge by offering body, speech, and mind to the teacher, taking the idams, who are the enlightened beings, as support, and the dakinis, the Dharma protectors, as companions. So here's a glimpse of what our daily chanting practice includes: a refuge vow to the four jewels. There are many strict vows in the Buddhist religion. There are vows at different levels for monks and nuns, but those are not part of our lineage practice. The refuge vow can be understood as a formal initiation which stresses our own commitment. The greatest sense of commitment is to learn to tame our mind through constantly being aware. That is the practice. There is no separation between this practice of cultivation, the mind, and our daily life. To develop loving kindness and compassion, as well as integrity, courage, and confidence, so that we can assist others when others need our help. When we have developed our mind and strengthened these qualities and ability properly, then we will be willing to give help when people need it, and not just when we feel we are ready. We become ready all the time. So the first vow, as you can see on the slide, I take refuge in the Guru with my body, speech, and mind, perfecting the path of the great attainment. Here it points to the alignment of our body, speech, and mind. This is the practice through cultivating the right view, right mental action, and right behavior. Talking and preaching on theories are easy. Anyone can learn some theories and perform the preaching. However, one can also preach something without truly believing in it in order to fulfill certain purposes. They can perform actions in the same way. So it is important to first have the right view. That's why the right view is the first step in the Buddhist Eightfold Path, an eight-step approach to attain enlightenment. After we have developed the right view, the right mind, we can then cultivate the alignment of our body, speech, and mind, gradually perfecting the path of great attainment. And this vow also implies the most important practice of our lineage. Taking refuge in the Guru with our body, speech, and mind implies the practice of Guru Yoga. In Vajrayana, Guru Yoga is the devotional practice in which we unite our mind stream with the mind streams of the body, speech, and mind of our Guru, being in union with the Guru. The goal is to embody the qualities of the Guru So gradually we are one with the Guru. There is no difference between our mind and the Guru's mind. For someone who is seeking, it's important to know that the Guru you are seeking is actually capable of being your spiritual mentor. The Sanskrit word guru can mean spiritual friend or companion who gives you guidance, protections, and blessings. It is important that the guru you are seeking is a fully qualified spiritual master. In our case, the Vajra master Jinke Xuanlei is the Mahasiddha, meaning someone who has attained great enlightenment within one lifetime. The word guru literally means someone who is heavy, implying the all-encompassing good qualities that the guru possesses. So a qualified guru would be able to prove their qualification, and we, as seekers, when we seek, we shouldn't rely on the title that a person has. In certain lineage, the title is inherited, not earned. So for someone who is being called a master, the title does not necessarily speak for his ability or qualities or levels of accomplishment. The second vow, I take refuge in the Buddha, generating the great compassion to liberate all destined beings. This is what we've talked about before, to have the intention and wish that all beings may attain enlightenment, which is the way of great beings and the way to attain great merit. There is the word destined here. We can think about what that means. It has to do with connection. That's what yuan means, as in 有缘. 有 is to have. Yuan means destined connection. So when we say 有缘 as a greeting, as a thank you, every time we are reminded of this connection we have. If everyone can have this intention whenever encountering others, they will not have any enmity in their heart. We will not be clouded by our egotistic subjectivity, because whether or not there is a difference between us, we are all here today because of the connection we have. Instead of forming certain attitudes or of opinions which are all subject to the law of impermanence, we can simply embrace all beings with a sense of equanimity without differentiating or judging. And it leads up to the third vow. I take refuge in the Dharma, being tranquil at ease as the wisdom increases. Dharma gives us the path. Being tranquil at ease as the wisdom increases is our accomplishment to have. Being tranquil at ease is to have equanimity. Whether we encounter experiences that give us headaches or bring us bliss, we are at peace. This is about having the attitude and state of equanimity. How can we achieve this state of equanimity? It is neither a thought nor an emotion. It is rather the steady, conscious realization of reality's transience. By attaining this realization and embodying this realization through one's mind and action, one attains the wisdom of this realization. So in this vow, the being tranquil at ease, equanimity is the ground for wisdom and freedom. So we are no longer controlled by our emotions, attitudes, and ego. And this wisdom and freedom protect us, give us strength, so that we can keep deepening and strengthening our compassion and unconditional love and care. And from this compassion and unconditional love, we begin to generate a mind of living non-self, which leads us to the final vow. I take refuge in the mind, practicing the Heart Tantra without ego. Tantra is a life-embracing philosophy. It is a path to liberation. It is a practice that allows us to use anything to cultivate ourselves. There's nothing we cannot use to better ourselves. For example, we all have egotistic ideas. We all have desire. We may think of desires as something negative, but the point is not to subdue the desire, but to transform it. We can transform desire into great aspiration, into great wishes. Both have the same momentum. When we act or react out of anger, try to see through the agency behind this emotion, which is our ego. So the path of non-self is not about having no self or denying the self, but to live without ego but full of the right agency. As a practice, the practice of taking refuge is done every day, or it can be done several times a day. Whenever you feel any imbalance in yourself, whenever you feel agitated, sad, afraid, or worried, taking refuge keeps us grounded in a state of mindfulness. It serves as a reminder to ourselves of our commitment to the path. To conclude today's talk, I would like to share the advice Padmasambhava has given to the future generations. If you want to genuinely practice the Dharma, do what is virtuous, even the most minute deed. Renounce what is evil, even the tiniest deed. The largest ocean is made from drops of water. Even Mount Sumeru and the 4 continents are made of tiny atoms. This life is only unknown. No one knows when it will be lost. Appearances are illusory. Understand their impermanence. Food and wealth are like dewdrops. It is uncertain when they disappear. Remember that servants are like travelers you meet on the road. Amity is delusion. Understand it to be mistaken. Keep in mind that family ties are the guide to samsara. Understand that offspring are only karmic creditors claiming their due. Your life runs out while spending it on idle talk. Do you not notice the arrival of King Yama's scouts? Seek the 3 jewels as escorts against the 3 lower realms. Take the Guru, Idam, and Dakini as your support in both this and future lives. As the road to freedom, practice the view, meditation, and conduct. 有缘